south a little bit there, Jordan, and let's see if we can get some more roads. Shorterville, I just saw off to my right here. So if you're in Shorterville, this is head your way next, probably in the next 3 to 5 minutes. You need to be in your safe place right now. Anywhere along State Route 10 in Henry County, east of Abbeville, you need to be in your safe place right now. And there's our debris signature. This thing is definitely down on the ground again, and you can see with the box here, confirmed tornado warning goes on until 11:30, including Henry County, the northern and eastern part specifically. So if you're in Shorterville, you need to be in your safe place right now. Wills Crossroads, like I mentioned, you need to be in your safe place right now. And eventually down the line, Fort Gaines, I know you're not in our viewing area in Clay County, Georgia, but you need to be in your safe place right now as well. If you happen to get our channel over the airwaves in Clay County, or if you know someone that lives in Clay County, Georgia, or is living right along the state line, or is at Bagby State Park, for example, give them a call, let them know there is a confirmed tornado on the ground that is going to be paralleling or staying just north of State Route 10 in Henry County and will be moving into Clay County, Georgia here not too long from now. I'm actually going to come over back to the Weather Center, and I'll take control of that real quick, Jordan, just so we can look at the rotation too. I do want to see what that is looking like as well. And I do want to take it back in time here as well. I want to see if we had the hook signature, the signature hook. These are supercell thunderstorms that have been developing, and this thing developed really quickly, and you can kind of see the hook right there. And I'll leave it up here just to show you guys that hook. And what I mean by that. So this is before it was severe. Watch the southwestern part of the storm. You can see the hook right there, and it tightened up very quickly, about as quickly as a storm can tighten up, because we were talking about a rotation that just happened, and then boom, it just dropped a tornado just like that. And that's where we have that confirmed tornado warning for portions of Henry County moving into Clay County, Georgia here not too long from now. So it's moving at 25 miles per hour. Let me check that. Yeah, east at 25. Okay, so if you're in Fort Gaines, Georgia, I know you're not in our viewing area, but if you know anyone in Clay County, you need to tell them to get to a safe place right now. Smallest room, lowest floor, near the center, away from doors and windows. In the immediate coverage area on the eastern side of Henry County, if you're in Shorterville, if you're in Wills Crossroads, like I mentioned, north or along or north of Alabama State Route 10, you need to be in your safe place right now. And Fort Gaines, it's going to be on you at 12:04 p.m. Eastern time, and it's going to be getting close to Shorterville. And using logic here, right around the top of the hour, 11 o'clock, as the daytime show is starting. So let's go ahead and clear this track off, Jordan, and let's put the rotation on. Let's go to velocity and see what this is looking like. And this is from, is this the Fort Rucker radar? No. Yeah, switch it over to Fort Rucker, because that'll give us the best view of it. And we might want to try storm relative for the rotation. Not the, well, let's zoom out here. Let's see if we can see it a little bit better if we zoom out. There's a little bit of green and red there, but let's actually take the loop back. Let's start the loop back at the beginning and see what we're looking like when this thing developed. So we're going to see the storm develop right here. There's the rotation right there, right as it developed. And really the best indication we're going to see of this is the debris signature. So actually, let's go back to the debris signature, because we definitely had a tornado that touched down in or around Abbeville. And we saw the debris signature. And I'll come back over there and fix that up here real quick, Jordan. So let me take the mouse here real quick, and we're going to stop the loop. We're going to go back to the CC, and we're going to play this back in time. We're actually going to shorten it from an hour to 30 minutes. So actually, this thing has been down for a while, and it actually was not tornado warned for quite a while. And I'll show you what I mean. So we're going to let this play out to the end. So it looks like this thing is still down, but you see just to the west of Abbeville, this actually had discoloration on the correlation coefficient. So this thing was down on the ground, was not tornado warned, then it was. And if you could pause the loop for me, Jordan, we'll point out that debris signature once again. Doesn't look quite as impressive as it did, so hopefully this is a sign that it is weakening, but there's still some discoloration in there, so it's a little It's a little iffy. It's in a little bit in that iffy category, but still, because this has a history of dropping a tornado in Abbeville and to the west of Abbeville, as we saw, we need to take this storm seriously. So again, if you're along State Route 10, if you're in Wills Crossroads or to the north of Wills Crossroads, Shorterville in particular, that's the biggest community on our side, on the TV side of things for us, over in portions of Henry County that's going to be affected by this storm. And it's going to be moving towards Fort Gaines as well as we get closer to the top of the hour. And it's going to continue, this tornado warning will continue until 11:30 a.m. And another thing too, so we have a storm to the north as well. This is out of our coverage area, but if you have friends that live near Cuthbert, Georgia, or in Quitman or Randolph counties, there's also a tornado warning there, what looks to be another tornado on the ground. So these storms definitely spinning up here pretty quickly. And I want to go to a big view here. If we could just go back to the regular reflectivity, Jordan, and I'll show you what's going on. Let's just go ahead and put this into motion. Go ahead and take that box off for me, the confirmed tornado warning box, and put this into motion over the last half hour. And we could see how things have really started to fire up here. And you could see this is kind of what we were expecting to happen. These are all supercell thunderstorms that are now developing, and they're becoming tornado warned really quickly. This one in Henry County, and then this one that's further to the northeast and southwest Georgia. And we have to watch all of these for that potential to drop a tornado, and also not just for a tornado potential, but for something that may be just as bad, and that is a destructive wind potential, maybe 70 to 80 mile per hour winds, and also potentially very large hail up to potentially 2 or 3 inches in diameter with some of these storms potentially. But of course, the focus right now is on that tornado warning in Henry County. And let's pause the loop over there, Jordan, and let's zoom back into our storm that's in Henry County right now, and it's still exhibiting sort of a hook shape. It's more of a kidney bean shape at this point. And let's turn on the base velocity first. If we can't pick anything up on that, let's go to the storm relative velocity. And you can kind of see the rotation. It's not all that impressive, but as we take it to the CC, we'll take it to the debris, we can still see an indication, I think. In my meteorological opinion, I do think this tornado is still on the ground. We still are getting that discoloration. All this magenta is just rain ahead of the storm, and usually when we have a regular day with just rain and no severe weather, if you turn on this particular product, it will just be magenta and red. But on a day like this, we're looking for these kind of discolorations, and that is an indication that debris is being lofted. In this case, probably since it went over a relatively populated part of our viewing area in Abbeville, maybe parts of houses, maybe some bricks, some boards, nails, glass, parts of trees are being picked up, likely leaves, and that's what this product is picking up on. So we do still have this debris signature east of Abbeville now, and the storm is moving pretty slowly, so it's going to take a little bit of time for it to get to portions of eastern Henry County, and eventually it's going to cross the river here into Clay County, Georgia, and will be out of our viewing area. So Shorterville, that's the main community I'm concerned about for Henry County. If you're in Shorterville, I cannot stress this enough, you need to get to a safe place right now. I do think this thing is still on the ground. I'm not sure how big this tornado is, but we do have a pretty sizable debris field here. So if you're in eastern Henry County, if you're along and north of Alabama State Route 10, you need to be in your safe place right now. Shorterville's about right here, and then Fort Gaines will be the next stop on this storm's journey, and that will take it into Clay County, Georgia. And again, Clay County is not in our viewing area technically. That's the Albany television market. So when this warning expires, we'll be handing it off to them, and more than likely we'll be taking this tornado warning into the daytime show, because this tornado warning technically doesn't expire until 11:30. But I think there's a safe bet this thing should be over in Clay County before 11:30, but it is moving relatively slow. It's only moving at 25 miles per hour to the east. So, and as we look at this storm, again, I think we still have a debris, or now that I look at it, doesn't look as impressive. I think this debris field is starting to scatter out. So the good news is there's a good chance this tornado may have lifted. We do have the rotation there still. Not the most impressive rotation in the world, but there's definitely a rotation in this storm. We've got the green heading towards the radar, the red heading away. You get that counterclockwise rotation. That's what you need for a storm to be rotating. And when they're in that tight space, that's when we get the better potential for a tornado. And it's going to be heading basically right towards downtown Fort Gaines, Georgia, right on the Georgia-Alabama state line, and also the Shorterville area as well. Again, if you're in Shorterville, you need to be in your safe place right now. Smallest room, lowest floor, near the away from windows and doors, in an interior room such as a closet or a bathroom or a room that's underneath a stairwell is the best place you can be. So again, tornado warning continues now for the eastern part of Henry County. I want to go ahead and give some all clears. So if you're in Abbeville, you probably just got hit by a tornado, I would imagine, based on what we've seen on the debris signature. You are good to come out of your safe place right now, but be careful because I would assume we're going to get some damage reports from Abbeville with this particular tornado warning. So if you're in Abbeville, you are good to go. But if you're east of Abbeville, I'm going to say if you're in downtown Abbeville and west, you are good. You can come out of your safe place. But if you're east of downtown Abbeville all the way to the Georgia state line, I want you to stay in your safe place for the next probably 10 to 15 minutes until this storm moves over into Georgia and moves into Clay County and out of our viewing area. So let's take it back to the velocity and let's see if it's changed at all and see if it's happened to weaken. It still looks basically the same. Still a relatively wound up storm here. Let's take it to the debris signature though. That has been the indicator mostly of the storm. And I think there's a good bet that this tornado has lifted, but because now it has a history of likely producing damage, and actually I want us to go back in time. I already have it on that 30-minute loop, Jordan, if you could play it. And you can see here right over Abbeville, basically, right when this warning came out, this is a confirmation that debris was lofted in some capacity. Again, all of this magenta is just red or precipitation of some sort, and then when you have this that just sticks out like a sore thumb here, these blues and greens and yellows, this is an indication of something that is not rain, likely bricks or boards or nails or glass or parts of trees, leaves, you name it, any kind of debris. That's what this is picking up on. And this means that a tornado likely touched down right over Abbeville, basically. And then as we take it eastward in time, Jordan, if we could put the loop back into motion and see what it's looking like now. You can see it went to a confirmed tornado warning, and now actually you can turn off the loop, Jordan, and we can see now we're not seeing as much of that discoloration. I know we have some of these greens and yellows here over across the state line, but those are not co-located with the rotation, so it's a safe bet that that is not a tornado. So I think at this point the tornado is lifted, but because this storm has a history of producing a tornado based on radar, we need to respect this storm. So again, if you're in Shorterville, this is basically on top of you now. If you're in Shorterville, you need to be in your safe place right now. If you're not already, I gave you the call to go to a safe place about probably 10 or 15 minutes ago, but if by chance you're just hearing me now, go to your safe place, smallest room, lowest floor, near the center, away from windows and doors. If you have friends that live in Fort Gaines or live east of Fort Gaines in Clay County, almost over, not quite over to US 27, but if they live on Georgia State Route 39, for example, or Georgia State Route 266, give them a call, or if they live near any of those state routes in Georgia, give them a call, let them know that a storm that has produced a tornado likely is headed their way here in the next 10 to 15 minutes. Let's actually take it back to the reflectivity view, the Doppler radar, and see if it still has that kidney bean shape. Yeah, it still has that kidney bean shape, so definitely a very healthy supercell here in an environment that has very high dew points. We have dew points in the 70s right now. Temperatures are pretty warm as well as we're sitting in the 80s. So overall, this is in a very prime environment to produce a tornado, and again, likely it did as it was over the Abbeville area. I want to zoom out and give a big view of what's going on right now. So this is not the only storm. You can see the amount of storms have increased dramatically. And I would say at this point, the radar is lighting up like a Christmas tree. We have more storms over in Dale County. We have more in Coffee County, Geneva County. We have some light rain in Houston County, but the only storm at this point that is severe and likely has produced a tornado in Abbeville is this one that's now starting to move out of portions of Henry County here pretty soon, and we'll be moving into Clay County. This storm up here, too, was a storm of concern. If we take the loop back a little bit further, Jordan, we can see that this storm to the north also, you see the purple flashing box, that one also likely produced a tornado a little further north of our viewing area. If you have any friends or family that live in Cuthbert, Georgia, or near Benevolence, Georgia, that storm likely produced a tornado just west of there, west of US 27. But this is, of course, the storm to focus on. And we're just going to go back now, zoom back in on this tornado warning. Notice we still have the purple flashing box, and actually you can see it starting to get that hook signature again. So maybe what we saw with this storm when it was losing that hook signature, it was doing what we call cycling. It likely produced not an intense tornado by any means, but a tornado of sorts that was down on the ground for a while. And now this storm is starting to cycle and get back organized. And the rotation doesn't look all that impressive. Zoom out a little bit there, Jordan. Let's see if we can see. I still think we have some rotation there. Not the most impressive rotation in the world, but as we go back, or as we take it over to the debris detector, there's a little there. This is kind of debatable if there is a debris signature. I would lean towards that there is, just because of the history of this storm, that we definitely have had a tornado on the ground as of recently with this storm in Abbeville about in the last 10 to 15 minutes. But you can see we're getting that hook shape now, and you're getting the inflow here. You're getting the very warm and unstable air. That means that this storm is starting to strengthen now at this point in time. So this is going to be a storm to watch here for the future. And of course, for now,
Coffee County tornado warning now too.
Okay, let's go over to Coffee County. We have another tornado warning that just came out. Thank you for the information behind the scenes. So new tornado warning, and you can see it's the exact same situation. We've got a supercell with this hook shape here, a new tornado warning for Coffee County that goes out until 11:45. I'm going to step out and take a look at the parameters on that here real quick now that they have the National Weather Service chat up. Severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located near Elba, moving east at 25. So this one, unlike the one in Henry County, is not confirmed, which is good, but nonetheless is just as dangerous. So if we could zoom out here just a little bit, I believe it's got to be this area right here. So it's actually not over Elba right now, but it's to the west of Elba, and it's moving just as slow as the storm that we saw in Henry County. It's moving generally in this fashion. So the rotation itself should stay north of downtown Elba, but if you're in Elba, I would still take your tornado precautions. Get to a safe place right now, smallest room, lowest floor, near the center, away from windows and doors. And if we could take this part of the box off, Jordan, I don't think we have a lot of populated communities in this area. If we could actually zoom in north of Elba, let's see if we can pick up on some communities. So we have Saddle Hill right here. If you're in Saddle Hill, this thing is almost basically on top of you right now. You need to get to your safe place immediately. If you're in the Lee community, if you're in Shady Grove, if you're along Alabama State Route 87, if you're along Alabama State Route 189, or in between those two highways, you need to be in your safe place right now. And take this box off real quick, Jordan. Let's see what highway this is. Zoom into this highway right here so we can see what one that is. Or that might just be a river, actually. I believe that's the P River. So if you're along the P River in Elba, or north of Elba, or in the city of Elba, like I mentioned, you want to get to your safe place as well. And let's zoom out and get the full view of this storm and what it looks like. So, and here's the full warning too. I'm actually glad we zoomed out about this far, because this tornado warning is just for Coffee County, and it's for central Coffee County. So Enterprise, that's where the majority of the population in Coffee County lives. Not everyone, but a majority of the population. If you're in Enterprise, this is going to stay well north of you. You do not need to be in your safe place if you're in Enterprise. New Brockton, the downtown area, I think you're good. Downtown New Brockton and south, you are good. But if you're north of New Brockton, I would lean on the side of caution and get into a safe place. But of course, Elba, you need to be in a safe place. Let's zoom into this area. Let's see what other communities we have. I believe Jack is included in this tornado warning. We got the Mixon community, Arcus, Victoria. Jack also up the line, up State Route 167 should also be in this tornado warning as well. So, and this one goes out until 11:45. Again, is radar indicated at this point in time. You can see it's starting to get that hook shape here. So again, it's in a very favorable environment, and these are supercell thunderstorms. These storms, the whole storm is rotating. So these are going to be storms that have the capability to produce a tornado. We've seen that already with just storm number 1 today in portions of Henry County, and now we're getting storm number 2 that is starting to wrap up as we speak, moving into portions of central Coffee County. So I mentioned Alabama State Route 189, Alabama State Route 87, the P River is right here, of course, US 84. You have the bypass around the north and west side of Elba, and then you have downtown Elba. I know this is passing to your north, so actually now that I think about it, with it passing to the north, if you're in downtown Elba, I'm going to go ahead and give you the all clear. But if you're north of the bypass here, I'm going to draw it with my finger right here, the bypass. If you're north of that, I want you to be in your safe place right now. North of US 84, basically, I want you to be in your safe place right now. And here's the rotation itself. Let's actually turn on the velocity, if we could, Jordan, over there in the Weather Center. And here's the signature right here. Is this, yeah, there's the rotation right there. Northwest of Elba, it's going to be moving in this general fashion like this. And we'll be moving to the east at 25. So just as slow as the storm that we saw across portions of Henry County. So we're going to put a track on this. Hopefully we can pick up on some communities here as it moves to the east at 25. Not a lot of population out here. That's okay. We'll zoom in and show you some of them. Shady Grove. It should stay south of you, but it's close enough of a call where you need to be in your safe place right now. Alabama State Route 167, as I mentioned, you have the P River right here. Alabama State Route 87 and Alabama State Route 189 is right here. And the rotation basically right now is over the community of Saddle Hill, where you get the green right there and the red, and where you get that counterclockwise rotation. That's where the storm is rotating right now. And actually, keep that circle right there, Jordan. Let's put on the correlation coefficient. Let's see if this is picking up on any debris. Thankfully, it's not right now, which is good. So no indication that this is actually on the ground, but because we have that tornado warning in place, the storm is rotating and could produce a tornado at any time. So if you're in Shady Grove, if you're north of Elba along 87 or 189, or live along the P River north of Elba, and eventually down the line here, Alabama State Route 167, you need to all be in your safe place right now. So I want to shift away from this storm. Let's go back to our Henry County storm, because that one is moving pretty slow as well. And let's see if that has moved into Georgia. It is very close to moving into Georgia now. You see we still have the purple box here, so they're still thinking this is on the ground across portions of Henry County. And there's a good chance that this is probably still on the ground. It's a little hard to tell because you do have some of these some of these other blues and spots, but if we could circle that right there, Jordan, right there, and put on the velocity signature, that will be a confirmation to see if that is on the ground right now. And if we could switch it over. Yeah, I do think that's on the ground. It's very close to where the rotation is. So I do think this is, at the very least, a small tornado that's on the ground. Moving in this general fashion, it should pass relatively close to Bagby State Park. So if you're in the far eastern part of Henry County right now, you need to be in your safe place immediately. And again, Fort Gaines, I would still say you need to be in your safe place, especially the northern side of Fort Gaines and the northern side of Shorterville, or if you're on the Alabama side of the Chattahoochee River, you need to be in your safe place as we speak, as this storm continues to push off to the east and actually does have a history of producing a tornado as it's moved across portions of Henry County. I don't think we've gotten any reports of damage in Abbeville yet, but of course we'll pass those along once we get them, because we definitely had a debris signature right over the city of Abbeville. And this is likely, I think, where the rotation is now. They're right along State Route 10. So that might be coming right into downtown Fort Gaines. So if you're in Fort Gaines or the eastern and northern side of Shorterville, you need to be in your safe place right now. This thing looks like it's still on the ground, and it's moving east at 25, and that's going to take it over into Fort Gaines here in the next 3 minutes. I'd say less than 3 minutes. If you're in Fort Gaines, I know you're not in our viewing area. If you have friends or family that live anywhere in Clay County, Georgia, you need to tell them to get to a safe place right now. So this one, I think, potentially could still be on the ground. It's a little bit up for debate, but I'm just going to err on the side of caution here. I don't want to say it's not on the ground, and it is. Because we do have this blue here, I'm going to err on the side of it's probably still on the ground, just based on the history of this storm having been on the ground earlier. So if we could take the circle off and we can take the track off. Again, tornado warning remains in effect here for Henry County for the next 23 minutes, but I would imagine before 11:30 it will be allowed to expire. So let's switch back to the reflectivity. We're going to go back down to the Coffee County storm. And you can see it still has that hook shape. And it's now passing or about to pass over Alabama State Route 189, well north of downtown Elba. I think that was a good call. If you're in downtown Elba, you don't have to worry about this storm. It's going to stay well north of you, probably by about 4 or 5 miles. The next road up will be Alabama State Route 87, and then the P River right here as well. So let's zoom in to this area right here between 189 and 87, Jordan. We have the Lee community. I want to see if we can pick up on any other roads. So we should be able to pick up on some, because this is a relatively populated area, or relatively populated in the sense that we're getting close to the county seat of Elba, the county seat of Coffee County, I should say. So again, 87, 189, if you're in between those two roads in the Lee community, that's the only community it looks like in between those two roads. You need to go ahead and get to your safe place right now. Zoom out just a little bit more because I can see our rotation right here, still to the east of Saddle Hill, and that's actually kind of where it was the last scan. I think, yeah, around this area here. And again, these are very slow-moving storms, only 25 miles per hour. So no surprise that the next scan almost had it in the exact same place that it was the last scan. So Lee, you're up next. Shady Grove, eventually the Arcus community, and then Victoria. I would guess, given that these storms have kind of trended more to the east-northeast, it's kind of going to go in this fashion. So it should stay just to the south of the P River. After it crosses the P River, it should parallel the river just to the south. So Arcus and Victoria, it should say another tornado warning. Okay, let's go up to Dale County. Okay, here we go. Another tornado warning. This one's going to be heading into some more populated areas. So these storms are really starting to wrap up now. This is turning out to be kind of a spring-like day. Actually, zoom out here, Jordan, real quick. I do want to see who's in and out because we're talking about now the most populated parts of our viewing area. So southern Dale County, southwestern Henry, northwestern Houston County until noon. We have a new tornado warning, and I'm going to check in behind the scenes here of to see if this, I believe it should be radar indicated because it's the red box, and severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado near Daleville. So this one's going to be a little bit more difficult to pick out. Just knowing where the radar site is, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to pick out, but it's safe to say, yeah, we do have it maybe right here. Actually, let's switch radar progs. Is this storm relative or is this base? Let's go to base velocity. Let's see if we can pick it up a little better there. Yeah, I think right there is about where the rotation is. So it said the rotation with this new tornado warning that just came out. This is for portions of central and southern Dale, northwestern Houston, and southwestern Henry County. This one is out until noon. This is where the rotation with this supercell is northeast of Daleville and north of Newton. So it's going to be crossing 231 here really in short order. So if you know anyone driving along 231 between Midland City and Ozark, tell them to pull over now. Pull over now. Pull over to the rest area that's along 231, the Dale County rest area. Pull over to a gas station. Pull over to a restaurant of some sort. Even though this isn't on the ground, I don't think. Let's take it over to the debris signature. A little bit iffy. I want to wait another scan or two before I confirm this to be on the ground. So there's a chance this could be on the ground, but I want to wait a scan or two more to see if this thing tightens up, if we can make sure that it is 100% on the ground. But anyone who's on 231, tell them to get off right now, get inside a safe and sturdy building, away from windows and doors. And actually zoom back out, I want to look at the entire polygon. So down the Ozark, I think you're going to be okay for the most part. And then as we head over eastward, Headland, you're included in this tornado warning. Newville is in this tornado warning as well. And then northwestern Houston County. Technically, this does include the city of Dothan and then the north side of town, the northwest side of town, Wiregrass Commons, for example, Target, Michaels, that area. I think this should stay just to the north of that. We're going to continue to monitor the trends with it, but I think it should stay north mostly of Houston County. So at this point, I would say Midland City, Pinkard, Newton, Headland, Newville, and then also Echo, because we have the radar site here. I know this is where the Echo community is. If you're in Echo as well as those other 4 or 5 communities that I mentioned, you want to be in your safe place as well. Smallest room, lowest floor, near the center, away from windows and doors. And I believe the rotation is somewhere back here and here. It's not as traditional shaped of a supercell as some of the other storms. It's a little bit harder to pick out. I think that's also due, in fact, to the fact that we're closer to the radar. So we're going to have to wait a few scans to see where this is. But they said near Daleville, it was somewhere in this area is where we're seeing that rotation right now. There is a chance that this could be a debris signature. I want to see if we can co-locate it with the rotation before we can confirm it as an actual tornado. But there is a chance that we could have a tornado on the ground here. North of Newton, about to move over 231 between Ozark and Midland City. Again, no one should be traveling along 231 north or south between these two cities. So that's that tornado warning. I want to go back real quick to the one that's up north across portions of Henry County. That one is actually on the state line right now. I want to check out the debris signature with that. I want to see if it's still on the ground. It's about to be out of Henry County probably in the next 2 or 3 minutes. I think this is still on the ground. I mean, we saw the hook on that storm. This tornado is basically right over Fort Gaines. So if you know anyone that's in Fort Gaines, please, please, please tell them to be in a safe place. Even though Fort Gaines is outside of our viewing area, Henry County is just across the river. We have a lot of viewers, of course, in Henry County, but a lot of viewers too probably watch us over in Clay County, Georgia, as well. So tell them to get to a safe place there as well. But thankfully, the threat from this storm that has produced a tornado, we know that for sure. Looking at the debris signature, the threat from this tornado is about to end if you're over in Henry County. So let's go ahead and get off of this storm, and we're going to go back down to Coffee County, and we have that storm also to deal with. And you can see these are taking on that traditional supercell type shape. You've got the hook. This is probably the most traditional supercell shape that we have here now, east of 189. So if you're along 189 or west of 189, you are good to go. Threat is over from the storm. It's now over Highway 87 and then eastward from there towards the P River where we have this rotating storm. And let's take it to the velocity on this storm. That's going to be our best indication of rotation here. And if we could switch it over to the other velocity product, let's see if we can get some of that red and green. Zoom out just a little bit. Let's see if we can get some red and green here. I still think it's this area right here where we're seeing the best rotation now, basically crossing over the P River. And it's not crossing into another county. It just happens to be crossing over a significant body of water. That's why I wanted to mention the P River in particular. So this is going to continue tracking off to the east. It's going to mostly stay south of Arcus and Victoria, but it's close enough to where I want you to stay in your safe place. Mixon, you're going to be getting in on this as well. And then eventually the Highway 167 corridor, a very heavily traveled road for folks that are heading down to the beach, down from Troy through the Enterprise area. So if you're along 167, if you're along 87, you need to be in your safe place right now. North of Tabernacle, you need to be in your safe place right now as well. And this is Coffee County, central Coffee County until 11:45, I believe. So let's take it to this storm down here. Let's see if we're getting a better indication of the rotation. Again, I mentioned before with this one, it's going to be a little tougher to pick out just because we're so close to the radar site. But somewhere in this area, potentially, we can see the rotation. Go back to the velocity signature here. Right, somewhere in this area, we're seeing that rotation there just north of Newton. It's about to cross over 231, not too far from the rest area in Dale County.
Andrew, I just want to point something out. I was trying to look at our correlation coefficient. Let's try and pull that up on our, yeah, there you go, EOX radar. Let's see if we can pull up that correlation coefficient. Yeah, I don't know if this is an old scan or a new one. I wasn't able to pull it up on my phone earlier, but I'm not seeing quite a debris signature with this one. Let's go back to our relative velocity. And see, go ahead and yeah, there you go. Yeah, this one's not looking as strong, but neither did the first one that they originally put out for Henry County. And then all of a sudden, you know, it was there. No doubt about it. Keep going, buddy.
Yeah, and I will say with the Henry County one, that one was actually on the ground before the warning came out. We did see going back in the scan, that was on the ground for quite a while. And I think it is still on the ground moving into the Fort Gaines, Georgia area right now. But this is where the rotation is. And again, it's going to be a little hard to pick out just because the radar site is actually right here in Echo, and we're aiming super low, which is great. That means we're getting a surface-based observation here, basically, because you know with the radar beam, the further out you go, the more and more up in the storm you're looking. You're basically looking at surface level right now. But it's also sometimes a deterrent because especially when you get really close to the radar site, it's really hard to see because it descends below the radar beam sometimes. So that's why we're a little iffy on the debris signature here. But nonetheless, rotating thunderstorm about to cross 231 between Midland City and Ozark, probably a little bit closer to Ozark, I would say, than Midland City. But nonetheless, you should not be along 231. If you know anyone that is, tell them to pull over at this second because a rotating thunderstorm is about to cross over. And then after that crosses 231, it's going to cross over a very windy Alabama State Route 27 and head towards or just south of Echo and should stay north of Midland City. But I know County Road 59 between Midland City and Echo is going to be an area that's you don't want to drive along there as well. And just like with the Coffee County storm, it's hard to pick out a lot of communities with this as well. But the Ewell community, you need to be in your safe place. North of Sylvan Grove, Echo is where this circle is. That's the radar site. Snow Hill just popped up there as well. Any of these communities I'm calling out, you need to be in your safe place right now. And I want to go back one more time to the Henry County tornado warning. Let's see if that, I think that is fully moved into Georgia now. So let's see. Yeah, the hook is now fully into Georgia. So if you're in Henry County, I'm going to go and give you the all clear from this storm. And we don't have any damage reports from Henry County yet, do we?
Not yet. Haven't seen anything on National Weather Service chat, and but it was EMA reported earlier.
Yeah, EMA reported
or
on the ground.
Emergency management reported.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, still hook shape with this storm, and it looks like they put out another tornado warning for Clay County.
Yeah.
You see the red box that's on top of that.
Let's go back to our
now,
furthest west one over in Coffee County. Let's check that one out again.
yeah, so this one still has that hook shape to it. It doesn't look all that impressive from a radar standpoint in terms of heavy rain, but you do have that hook shape back here crossing over the P River at this point, and it's this area right here where we're
just
watching.
to the southwest of Arcus and Victoria.
Yeah, southwest of Arcus, southwest of Victoria. It should stay north of Mixon, but still too close of a call if you're in Mixon, Arcus, or Victoria, or on 167 or south of Lowry Mill. You need to be in your safe place right now. And down the line here we have the Java community, Alabama. I believe that's Alabama State Route 27.
5
125, okay.
And 167 where they meet up there.
Yeah, and then the New Hope community as well. If I'm calling out any of these communities, or if you're close to any of these communities, you need to be in your safe place right now. So this rotation, if we can zoom it back out just a little bit, this is it right here, just to the southeast of Shady Grove and southwest of Arcus. And go and circle that area. Let's see if we have any debris signature there.
Yeah,
I don't think we
We'll
do.
circle this right here.
Yeah.
And let's go to, there we are.
Yeah.
Not seeing any correlation
Nothing yet.
coefficient coming up with this one. I'll back it up in time, see if there's anything. No, it's we're not getting all the scans in necessarily for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, not seeing any correlation coefficient pop up for any of our recent scans for this area.
Yeah, so I would say this is just a rotating thunderstorm at this point, has not yet had enough time here to produce a tornado, but it could at any time. So again, if you're along the P River, if you're northeast of Elba, you need to be in your safe place right now.
So here's the original area of rotation that
Here, right
passed
there.
over Sadie Hill and south of Lee. And looks like most of that rotation has dissipated. So
Yeah,
again,
it's
it
falling
would be,
apart
if it's
pretty
moving
quickly.
anywhere, it's going to be moving south of Arcus.
Yeah, it's falling apart here pretty quickly, and this is kind of unlike what we saw with the storm up to the north where that one maintained its intensity.
So let's
we
go back
also-
to our Dale County tornado warned storm.
Yeah,
and
it's
north
starting
of
to take
Newton
on
is
that
where
hook
this
shape a
area
little
is.
bit. Yeah, let's take it to the velocity and see
Yeah.
if we can pick it out.
Not quite.
Not quite, yeah. It's probably
pretty hard being this close.
Yeah, it's probably descended below the radar beam at this point.
Somewhere near Waterford and Plainview, just to the eastern side of it, before
Yeah.
you get to 231. That would be the area of rotation.
Yeah, right around the Dale County rest area.
I'm going to back it up for you a few scans, Andrew. See if
Yeah.
we can find the original area of rotation that they warned it for. There
right,
it is.
Right there.
Yeah, there you go. So most likely would have been following this sort of a track.
Yeah. And it's going to be
and-
crossing over 27 here next. And again, it's
Yeah.
really hard to see because the direction it's moving east is right smack dab almost towards the radar site.
Yeah, so it looks like it would be somewhere within here.
Yeah.
So we'll zoom in on a couple of those areas. Yeah, so to the northeast of Plainview, heading toward Browns Crossroad, Ewell as well, and
Lewis.
Snow Hill, Lewis. Those are some communities that are inside of this warning. And I think that you guys need to be in your safe place for this rotating, like you said, rotating thunderstorm. No confirmation of a tornado on it, but a rotating thunderstorm.
Yeah, and it is a little concerning too how the rotation has descended below the radar beam, because if this happens to produce a tornado, the debris signature, it'll be the same thing. It will have descended below the radar beam.
Yeah.
So it'll be hard to see. So we really need to emphasize the seriousness of this one with that in mind. If you're in portions of Dale County, you need to be in your safe place right now. And it's especially a call to action now from 231 eastward all the way into Henry County as well. If you're in Newville, if you're in Headland, if you're, I'd say Kinsey, you're going to be fine from this storm.
North of Kinsey to Newville, within that area.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're in Headland, Newville, if you're in, I know the CAPS community is out here too, Echo, you need to all be in your safe place. Smallest room, lowest floor, near the center, away from windows and doors. And now that we've covered our bases here, and we're going to continue to cover our bases, let's zoom out and give a big view of what's going on right now. So we've turned from not active at all to very active. We have 3 ongoing tornado warnings. We're probably about to lose this one, I would guess.
One in Henry County. That one's basically, it hasn't technically expired, but it's no longer a threat to Henry County, folks.
Yeah. But now the focus turns to these 2. One for Central Coffee County. I believe that one goes until, or they just canceled that one, which is good, because the rotation is weakened with that one. We were talking about that earlier, but we'll still have to watch it. It's still in a prime environment where it could re-strengthen. And then we're watching this one in particular as it's moving through Dale County, and we'll be moving into southwestern Henry County here in short order. That one goes until noon. And concerned about this storm, not only because it's a rotating thunderstorm, but it's really hard to see the rotation because we're getting really close to the radar site. And it's the rotation at this point, because we're getting so close to the radar site, it's descending below that radar beam, and it's going to be really hard to see. But just based on the track of this, we do think now it's somewhere in this area if we could take it to the
Andrew, we're going to come to the desk really quick. So Jordan and I have been monitoring some things behind the scene here. And for those that haven't met Jordan Ambrose, our newest meteorologist here at WDHN, Henry County Sheriff is reporting down power lines, structure damage, trees down, and that would all be most likely on the northern side of Abbeville or within Abbeville itself. So that tornado, I was watching it on radar earlier, and it looked like it was going directly through Abbeville. Potentially, and I'm sure that you came to the same conclusion as well. So if you are in that area, if you were planning on traveling up 431 and heading toward Abbeville, let's avoid that region so they can get some things cleaned up. They've got to do what they've got to do. EMA, as well as anyone that's working on the ground, has got to get things cleaned up before they can get those roads open back up there. If there are any trees, power lines, things down on the roadways. Of course, if you come across a down power line, always avoid it. Don't drive over it. Not a safe thing to do. Don't go walking toward it. There may be some water on the ground. It may still be active. It's always a bad situation. So avoid Abbeville if you can today. If you're traveling along 431, just go right on by it. And at this point, I'm not saying that Abbeville is in danger of another storm. There are more storms out there, but there's no tornado warned storm for Abbeville. It's just the damage in the area that I wanted to bring attention to. So definitely have damage from a tornado that was confirmed on the ground at one point in Abbeville. Andrew?
Yeah. Absolutely, and we saw that on the radar presentation with the debris that was being lofted earlier, and I would imagine that's probably not going to be the only reports of damage we get out there. But now our focus is going to shift, thankfully, to just one tornado warning. We did have 3 at one point. We've lost 2 of them now, basically. The one in Henry County now basically is out of
Coffee
here.
County just expired, and the one in Henry County no longer a threat to them.
Okay, yeah. So now it's just central and eastern Dale County and moving into southwestern Henry County, and technically northwestern Houston County is included in this warning, but I think this
Dothan is not included in this. Can't express that enough. And they tried cutting out all of Houston County at this point.
It looks like they cut out. I think they did cut out.
Yeah,
all
they
of
did.
Houston
They did.
County.
It's right along the county line.
Yeah. So now at this point, it's eastern and southern Dale County and southwestern Henry County until noon is this tornado warning for this supercell that, again, is going to get pretty close to the radar site. It might stay a shade south of it, potentially.
Yeah, the area of rotation will probably stay just barely south of that. And it looks like it's moving almost due east at this point.
Yeah.
Had more of a northeasterly trek to it earlier, heading towards State Road 27, but no longer looking that way. So probably right toward Headland and Newville, somewhere within that area. Looks like we don't have a ton of communities in there. We'll take that back off.
Yeah, Alabama State Route 134, I know, is this
Sylvian Grove. Let's zoom in because our tracker's not picking it up. Lewis, Kirkland's Crossroads, and again, this warning goes out until noon today. Blackwood, Headland, Southgate, Newville. Those are all communities that will very well be impacted by this tornado warned storm. North
Yeah.
of Napier Field. It looks like it's going to stay just north of the airport. So Sylvan Grove, you guys are definitely folks that want to be in your safe place. While we don't have confirmation of one on the ground, there was rotation on this one earlier for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And also Wallace Community College, this should stay well north of you as well, because that's right around Napier Field. So Sylvan Grove is probably the community that's going to get the closest to this. Kirkland's Crossroads, Blackwood, Lewis. We named off all these communities. It should stay to the north of Alabama State Route 134. I think that's a good baseline to say if you're north of 134 and south of 27, that's where the danger is going to be with this storm. You need to be in your safe place right now. Smallest room, lowest floor, near the center, away from windows and doors. And actually, since I've been mentioning that so much, let's actually take it over to that severe weather graphic of the safe
Absolutely.
place graphic. So, for example, this house right here, this is where you need to go. So you need to go to an interior room. First of all, you need to be on the lowest floor. You do not want to be on your second story, or if you happen to have a third story, you don't want to be on the second or third story. You need to be on the first floor, the ground level floor. Then you need to get into an interior room, so the middle of the house. And rooms like that are a hallway, a closet, or a bathroom, or you can even go to a room that's underneath a staircase. That counts as the interior portion of your house as well. Let's go ahead and switch it to the next one here. I know it talks about covering your head with pillows. You might want to put on a bicycle helmet. You might want to.
It's not playing through, Andrew.
Oh, okay.
So we'll just go back
there
to,
we go.
there it is.
Yeah, so cover your head with pillows, blankets, or a helmet, like I mentioned, and that's to protect yourself from debris should a tornado hit your house. The debris comes in from the inside, and that way you'll protect the most important part of your body, which is your head. I'm going to step off here real quick. Now we're going to step back on. So tornado warning continues, and even though we talked about the safe place graphic, this isn't to say this storm is producing a tornado at this point in time. I would lean towards this is not producing a tornado right now. It's really hard to say, though, because it's so close to the radar site.
Yeah, we're not seeing any.
Right there, maybe.
If there is, it would be right there south of Brown's Crossroads,
Yeah.
most likely.
Yeah, most likely it would be in this area right here. Probably right along County Road 59 in Dale County, if I had to guess, or very close to County Road 59 in Dale County, or County Road 61. I've traveled up this way many a time, so I do know that it runs, or County Road 59 runs from Midland City up to Highway 27 west of Echo. So somewhere close to County Road 59 is likely where this rotation is right now. If you're in the Lewis community, we've called you out several times. Kirkland's Crossroads, Blackwood, Newville, eventually down the line here. That's moving into Henry County. So Henry County, this is now your second go around now of a tornado warning. The first time it was the northern and central parts of the county. Now we're talking about the western parts of Henry County. So there's our rotation now. It's starting to come into full view now. It's starting to separate itself distance-wise a little bit from the radar site. So it's probably going to split the difference here between Headland and Newville, but because it's going to split the difference between the two cities, I would say in both cities you need to be in your safe place right now.
Yeah, so we're just letting this roll through over the last 30 minutes so you can see that this thing is moving in an easterly trajectory. It was a little bit more northeasterly earlier, but yeah, I think that anywhere from the radar site and southward, just where this warning is, that's exactly who needs to be in their safe place.
Yeah.
Midland City, you guys are not in the warning. You guys are not under a threat of a tornado at this time. Newton, you guys are outside the warning as well. But Headland and Newville, you guys are within it, and you need to be in your safe place just in case this thing does bring up a little bit more rotation. Again, it was definitely rotating when it was first warned. Let me see if there are any additional comments from the National Weather Service. Not seeing anything. Okay, they're just continuing and that was 6 minutes ago that they were continuing that warning. That was when they chopped it back. So yeah, not seeing any additional signs of strengthening within the storm. No reorganization here. And let me see if we've got any correlation coefficient values. Nothing big that sticks out right now.
Yeah, not right now, but again, it's only because we're close to the radar site, so we'll have to watch the storm closely. Once it gets away from it, it'll be a little bit easier to see.
It would be easier to see, yes, but I do think that this one has weakened quite a bit. I think that most of these are going to be short-lived things, so they've got rotation on them for at least a few scans, and then they're gone.
Yeah.
I think that the one in Abbeville was an exception.
Yeah, that was the
rule
exception.
here.
And it still kind of has that kidney bean shape now that it's moved into Georgia, but I think that tornado warning expired up there in Clay County. But this is not the only storm out there. And again, we're in a prime environment for all threats of severe weather today. We're in that moderate level 4 out of 5 risk. And I would dare say, and Matthew, you can comment on this is a pretty rare phenomenon for June to have a moderate risk.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was reading some things about it. Highly unusual for us to be getting
Yeah.
tornadoes this time of year, unless it's from a tropical system.
Yeah. This is more of a March, April type setup that we have in place.
Yeah. And to have all these small supercellular type of storms, highly unusual.
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
time of year.
These are not your run-of-the-mill garden type variety summer thunderstorms. Yes, we are in the middle of summer, but these are more spring-like in nature. You could see we got kind of that supercell structure here where the whole storm itself is rotating, and that's going to be the kind of deal the kind of thing we'll be dealing with at least for the next probably hour to 2 hours with these storms. And we still have a few more off to the west. We have one that's moving into Enterprise right now, but that one not severe at this point. This is the only one that's severe or tornadic at this point, and it's in effect the tornado warning for another 26-ish minutes as it continues to move generally towards Newville and Headland now, and is still in Dale County, likely right along County Road 59 between Midland City and
59
Highway
and
27.
61 within that area. You nailed that earlier, Andrew.
Yeah, County Road 61 actually splits off kind of in this fashion and heads off to the northeast. So
Yeah,
that's
near New Hope
exactly what it is.
Church, Mount Carmel's Church Cemetery, that area. That's where this tornado warned storm is. It's going to be most likely just south of that.
Yeah, so this area here.
Blackwood Church, Concord Baptist Church, those areas, if you recognize them, that's where this tornado warned storm is heading toward.
Yeah, and actually, let's zoom out. We'll keep it paused, and now we can put a 25-mile-per-hour track on it because we do have some communities out ahead of it. I think that's going to pick up on.
Right down, yeah, there you go, that'll work. Right there.
So Newville around
It's
11:49.
Yeah, it's not picking up on the smaller communities right now.
Yeah, it's not picking up on the small communities, but we have mentioned those, Blackwood, Lewis. There was another one out here as well, but Newville is the one that sticks out here the most. That's going to be heading your way by 11:49. So another 15 minutes till it gets there, but we don't want you waiting till 11:49 to take shelter. You need to take cover right now. Smallest room, lowest floor, near the center, away from windows and doors. And now to shift over to the Henry County side of things with this storm, you have 431, of course. If we could zoom back into Newville real quick, we do have State Route 173 as well as the main highway through Newville. Of course, you have the plant here. I'm not sure what type of plant it is, but you have a plant right here that produces some kind of product that's right along 431. You have a Dollar General that's over here as well. You cross over some railroad tracks. That's the general vicinity of where this is headed now, here in the next likely 10 to 15 minutes as it continues to push off to the east.
Let's zoom back out some. Andrew, the most that we can do, again, is saying between Headland and Newville is where this thing's going to be heading, and it would likely be closer to the Newville area. Let's go to Links 1 real quick to talk about that severe weather outlook on the day. Andrew was probably hitting on this early this morning, and I assume that outlook came in with the moderate risk early this morning?
Yeah, that was around midnight. And
okay.
I was mentioning with this moderate risk, I was thinking the northern portions of our area, more than likely north of 84, and that's exactly what it's been. North of 84 has been where we've had at least one tornado in Abbeville. I think that is probably going to end up being confirmed.
Yeah, so this is a pretty crazy setup for this time of year. We've got this subtropical jet that's working in, and because of those winds aloft, that's what's helping grow these storms, create the environment for tornadoes right now, as well as hail, especially later on today, and the gusty winds too, and something that we don't typically see. We'll go back to radar. I just wanted to show, we're not the only ones that have this threat. Yeah. We'll go back to radar on Links 2.
Very big moderate risk for today, and I don't think they're going to upgrade it past a moderate.
No, absolutely
there's no
not.
way
The day's already started, so there's no point in upgrading it at this point.
Yeah.
So we'll zoom back in. Again, this storm has definitely lost a lot of its structure, at least from the radar standpoint of OEX as well as up in Montgomery. Not seeing it from there. Let's go to Panama City. Still has a slight hook.
Yeah, right there. So there's at least, I would say, mid-level rotation.
Yeah, but this is very much so high in the atmosphere.
Yes.
Here's your mid-level rotation, like you were saying. There is a little bit, and again, it's going to be between Newville and Headland.
Actually, I'm leaning toward it now, moving maybe a little bit closer to Headland, but still close enough. Both communities need to be in their safe place right now.
Let me put this into motion here. Yeah, so we're using radar scans that are higher in the atmosphere. They're catching a little bit different parts of the storm. Typically, you want to get the lowest level possible, but unfortunately, it's just not possible from our Dale County radar right now.
Yeah, so, and it's even more encouraging news, the fact that we're seeing the rotation further up in the atmosphere and not lower down in the atmosphere. So this thing is not dropping a tornado at this point, and
Most likely not,
most likely
correct.
not, yes. So mid-level rotation with the storm, but mid-level rotation is still rotation.
Absolutely.
So the storm is still rotating and could produce a tornado at any time. Hasn't done it yet, but we're going to continue to watch it, and no debris signature at all from any of our sites here. So that's the good news. Probably some hail falling with this storm. Is this the
Yeah,
Panama
let's
City
check
one?
on that.
Yeah, definitely
There's
hail
probably
with
some
this storm.
small hail that crossed over 231 and over 61, like you said, headed towards Blackwood, Kirkland's Crossroad. Let's see if I'll put this into motion. Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, maybe some small hail within this thing as well.
Yeah, but it's definitely lost a lot of its structure, as you said, which is the good news. That's the encouraging news that we want to see. Hopefully we can keep that tornado threat brief today, but there is still that hatched area that the Storm Prediction Center put out, so we have to at least mention that an isolated strong tornado is not entirely out of the question with these storms.
They
today.
upgraded that this morning, huh?
Yeah, they did. Basically, like I said, north of 84 is where we have that better potential for a strong tornado or two. So again, the storm not looking as impressive, that's the good news, but still is rotating at least in the mid-levels. And if we could take it back to, I think it was the Panama City scan where it was rotating in the mid-levels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both Panama City and Montgomery had some rotation in the mid-level.
Yeah, so right there, right around or just north of Sylvan Grove is where this rotation is now. I would venture to say at this point, it should be around the Dale and Henry County line, just given where this is now. And it's going to stay well north of 134. So again, I'm going to use 134 as a reference here. If you're north of 134, you need to be in your safe place. If you're south of 134, you're definitely good. So this is going to be heading towards Blackwood and Kirkland's Crossroads, and then eventually this is State Route 173, Headland, Southgate, and Newville. You guys are up next for this storm. Get to your safe place right now. While this isn't producing a tornado yet, the storm is rotating and again, still carries the capability to produce at least a brief tornado with this particular storm.
Andrew, just to take a quick break here. Do want to say that we've got video and pictures and things of damage that we're going to be throwing up here. And there you go. So there is some of the damage from, I believe, the Abbeville area where we've got a lot of trees down. Some viewers sending this in. Robert Smith Jr. has gone up there and he's checking things out and going up there. So a lot of trees down is what we see here. And of course that, we can't tell necessarily right now if it's straight line winds or if it's a tornado that caused these things because we can't see all the directions that the trees are falling. But we did have a tornado reported on the ground. Looks like it's a bunch of tree limbs or smaller trees that have been snapped in half. Some uprooted like this one right here. Are these all coming in from Robert or from viewers, Michael?
This is Robert.
Okay, this is from Robert Smith Jr., a reporter. He's gone up there to the Abbeville area. And do you know, I know State Road 10, he said that there was a lot of trees down in that area. Is that on the north side of the city? Do you know off the top of your head? That's all right, that's all right. I'll look that up real quick. But yeah, this is, the tornado warned storm was warned for all of Abbeville, but it was the north side of the city that it looked like this thing. Okay, State Route 10 goes right through the city itself. So yeah, this looks like it's hit most likely around or at downtown Abbeville. And so again, like I mentioned earlier, if you're up in that direction, please give the crews their time to get all of this stuff off the roadways, whatever may be on the roads. Looks like a majority of these things have, that Robert's collected for us, have fallen not on roadways. So that's really good signs there because last thing we want, of course, are more issues caused afterwards. So there were also reports of some power lines down, according to the sheriff up there in Abbeville. So we don't want, we don't want folks driving across down power lines. That's something that you want to avoid. Once we get more video and more pictures, we'll make sure to put that on air and online as well on WDHN.com. So again, this isn't saying that there is a further severe weather threat for Abbeville, at least not currently, but there is still the possibility of more storms moving through the area. Let's go back to radar on links 2, and we're going to zoom all the way out, and we're going to show everyone where these storms are at. There you go, on links 2. And there is the severe thunderstorm for the Eufaula area up there in Barber County. Lots of small storms all across the region. Lots of small storms throughout southeast Alabama. And many of these do have hooks to them. You see this one between Tuskegee and Union Springs. That one's got quite the hook to it.
There for Cuthbert. That's the second one for Randolph County, Georgia today.
Yeah. So more tornado warnings down in southwest Georgia. So it's a very active day, just like you were saying earlier, Andrew. Very active day. You can head back up there on the wall. Yeah. And we'll keep talking about this tornado-warned storm that's now moving out of Dale County and into Henry County.
Yeah, I would say that's the case. I wouldn't give the all clear yet for far eastern Dale County. I would say give it another 5 minutes.
Okay.
And then you're good to go in Dale County. But next stop on the track of this storm, it's going to be Headland and Newville. If you're in either of those two cities right now, you need to get to your safe place immediately. I don't want you waiting until 11:49 when this storm gets right to your door. I want you to go ahead and get to your safe place right now at this second so you're prepared for this storm to come over your area. Even though it hasn't produced a tornado yet, we talk about it's capable of producing a tornado. So we want to lean on the side of caution here, and we want you to get to your safe place right now. If you're in Headland or Newville, and if you're along 431, that's another road you don't want to be traveling on right now. If you're traveling through Headland, for example, there's a lot of restaurants, lots of gas stations right along 431 in Headland. Pull over to one of those. They'll let you in. Go to a safe, secure one of those buildings and get away from windows and doors. Go to a bathroom, for example. You'll be good to go there in Headland if you can pull over in one of those places. And you can pull over at the Dollar General, for example, in Newville if you happen to be coming south from Abbeville, or if you happen to have already passed Headland, because I don't want a soul on the road here on 431, just in case we do have something down. But the current thinking is that we don't have anything down, but we still have a rotating thunderstorm.
Yeah, for sure. This is from our Montgomery radars. So again, it's higher up in the atmospheres, so it does look like there's at least mid-level rotation, but maybe not quite as much down near the surface. We'll go back to our Dale County radar here. It's the closest one to it, and if there is any rotation, again, that went back to EOX. So we want our base level here, and
yeah, it's still really hard to pick out.
Yeah,
but
it would be somewhere within here.
Right there, yeah. So again, if you're in Headland, Newville, actually, let's zoom down and look at some of the more local streets that are, or it might be a little bit further north.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit further north. And that's why it's really hard to pick these things out right now. With how close it is to the radar and the fact that I do think that this thing is weakening.
Yeah, you can still see, even though this thing is weakening, it's got that traditional supercell shape, and where it's getting all of its energy, it's this inflow right here, where you got that warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico coming in from the southeast, and that's where the storm is rotating, is where we get that counterclockwise rotation. And it looks like now they have trimmed this tornado warning down big time, which I think is good news.
That was the right move. So for anyone that's in, now this is just Henry County, no longer Dale County.
Yeah.
Kirkland's Crossroads, Blackwood folks, up toward Newville. Headland, they've taken out of it. I think that that's a great idea. So anyone that's to the western side of 431 there, south of Newville, you guys are the ones that have the threat of a tornado. And this is not a clear cut and dry one like the one that was in Abbeville, where we could see a debris signature, we could see the rotation. And this one isn't as clear cut and dry. But we're going to stay with it because it's still a tornado warned storm. Yeah,
absolutely. So Headland, I would say at this point, you can come out of your safe place. But if you're in Newville, you definitely need to be in your safe place right now. State Route 173, I mentioned before, US 431. We've got various county roads too as well. And I would say if you're west of Tumbleton as well, if you're southwest of, I think that's Danzy to the east of 431, you need to be in your safe place as well. So along 431 all the way from Headland to Danzy,
I wouldn't say that necessarily they need to be in their safe place at this point, because it does, again, it looks like this thing is weakened quite a bit. On alert is a good call.
Absolutely.
Making sure that you guys are continuing to watch. There's no need to be heading into the bathroom and hanging out there for the next 30 minutes when this storm's a slow mover and it's not necessarily potentially going to make it to you. Again, it's tornado warned, but that rotation has weakened quite a bit. Let's check out our shear rate here. We're not seeing any over the area of interest near Kirkland's Crossroads or Blackwood. And we're going to check on our correlation coefficient, and it's just so discombobulated right now. I'm not seeing anything in there either.
Yeah, and that's good news. So hopefully the storm will continue on that weakening trend, but it is heading, as it continues further off to the east, we could say it's heading into a more favorable environment the further and further east it heads, a place that's been untapped. So we're going to have to continue to watch it. But hopefully these trends continue. Good news is, even though we still have the tornado warning, I would say at this point it's mid-level rotation. So we're pretty much, I would say at this point, just waiting for this tornado warning to expire. Wouldn't you say so, Matthew?
Let's say that again, Andrew.
Would you say at this point we're just waiting for this tornado warning to
Most
expire?
likely, yeah. It's got
Most
another
likely.
12, 13 minutes on it. Goes until 12 o'clock. And Jordan brought up a good point here. We're going to come back to the desk really quick. Obviously, we've had the damage that we reported earlier from tornadoes, but tornadoes aren't the only threat today.
Yes, today, later into tonight, there's also another threat. So just because a storm has passed through your area does not mean that we won't see another threat tonight.
That's right. And the threat could include isolated tornadoes as well, but also damaging wind gusts. This is going to be a large group of storms, most likely, that'll move in instead of these individual storms.
Yes, and large hail will also be a threat tonight. So make sure you have your WDHN app and stay ready and have your emergency alert apps ready to go.
Absolutely. So, and again, with that large hail, 1 inch or greater, or at 1 inch, is the severe criteria. And there's the possibility of getting hail 2+ inches that's larger than golf balls. So typically, you think of a quarter, that's 1 inch hail. That's going to cause some pings in your car, right? Some dents in the roof of your car. But if you get golf ball sized hail or larger, that could crack windshields, crack your windows in your house as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get those things to be happening. We're going to get a lot of insurance adjusters out there. Last thing you want to do is be taken advantage by somebody when they're going around to check on roofs and they say, oh, I'm from out of town and I'm here to help give you a discounted rate. Don't listen to those people. Always go local and get that adjustment from somebody that's from nearby. Let's go back to our radar scans here. Newville is the area that this thing is going to be heading toward at this time. On links, there you go. And you still see that hook. Andrew, you can go back up there and point it out. Yeah. It's not quite as well defined, but yeah. Andrew, step off the screen real quick, and they're going to bring you up. Guys, go ahead and put him back up there for me. All right, go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, so here's where our hook is. It's pretty visible at this point in time. This is a very traditional looking supercell, but the good news is it's not necessarily at this point acting like a supercell of this kind of caliber structure-wise, because the rotation at this point continues to weaken as we speak. But at the course of least regret, Newville, we still want you to be on alert for this storm as it continues to move off to the east. It's going to basically move right over your area, and then actually before it gets to 431, it's going to be out of this tornado warning box. And have they mentioned anything in the National Weather Service chat if they're going to extend this maybe as a severe thunderstorm warning?
No, I've asked them for additional thoughts on it. They haven't given anything more, so I do think that they'll probably allow this thing to expire. It's not out of the realm of a possibility that they would put a severe thunderstorm warning on it with tornado possible tag, but I just don't think it's warranted right now. They may do it, I just don't think that it's warranted at this point.
Yeah, I would agree. And again, this thing is weakening, which is good news, but we just want you in Newville to be on your heels watching this storm. So now that we've covered that, let's now zoom out and take a broad view of what's going on. This is probably going to be the next storm to watch here. Right now, it's not severe, but we're going to watch it, and it's got more of a linear structure to it than the supercell structure that we saw earlier. And I would imagine the rotation with that is not all that impressive. But
yeah, let's zoom on down to it. We'll check out the rotation with it.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, nothing on there. Nothing on storm relative either.
Yeah.
No additional shear that's associated with this storm.
Yeah.
So.
But I would assume a decent amount of lightning, lots of energy with these storms moving through Newton.
Yeah, a decent amount. The one that's got the most is up there in northern Henry County.
Yeah, that's going to be a storm to watch as well. But it should be moving out of Henry County pretty soon. We got another tornado warning. This is not in our viewing area. Just wanted to mention it. I was mentioning Fort Gaines earlier. If you knew someone that lived in Fort Gaines, give them a call. I would say the same call to action if you know anyone that lives in Cuthbert, Georgia, or Shellman, Georgia, Randolph County, Georgia. Tell them to get to their safe place. There's a tornado warning up that way. That's not in our viewing area, but it's close by, and I know there's people around here that are probably relatives of that.
All right, let's focus back in on northern Henry County. Let's see what's going on up there. It looks just like it's heavy rain with lots of lightning, lots of positive strikes as well. I'm going to pull that up. Positive strikes mean the yellow ones that you see on there. Those are the ones that cloud to ground. Those are the ones that are deadly compared to negative strikes usually within cloud to cloud. Yeah.
And I could see down there we got the storm report.
Yeah, that's the storm report along State Road 10, I believe. Yeah, north of Graball.
Yeah. So that's north of, right, actually close to where the Yellowwood I guess Yellowwood Distribution Building, and the Yellowwood Water Tower is off of 431. That's where that tornado report looks like it was. So it probably crossed very close to that across 431. But good news is that storm is over in Georgia. This storm
that's
here,
a long gone storm.
yeah, so we're going to go back down to this tornado warning. Again, it's lost a lot of its structure. Actually, I think the hook is gone at this point, too.
Yeah, relatively, and we don't see any rotation within it. So. At least not at the surface, and we'll go a little bit higher in the atmosphere like we were doing earlier. There's still some rotation higher up above Newville, not north of Newville, but above it in the atmosphere. And we'll check from Panama City. Again, very weak.
Very
this
weak.
rotation is even further away from where we would typically expect it to be if it's going to be producing a tornado.
Yeah,
And if we were to check radar from Montgomery, I mean, it just looks like a discombobulated blob.
yeah, which is the good news. Hopefully that trend continues with this storm. So we're just waiting for that tornado warning basically to expire. Let's go back up to the one in northern Henry County because that's a pretty electric storm, quite literally, because of the lightning. It's mainly north of Abbeville, the Lawrenceville community getting in on this thunderstorm with, as we mentioned, a good amount of positive lightning strikes, the ones that hit the ground. Also, Scottsboro Crossroads, Otho, Alabama State Route 95 is out here. Of course, you have Lake Eufaula, 431 as you go from Henry County into southern and Barber County. So this storm is going to be heading generally up 431 towards Eufaula. And there's a severe thunderstorm warning up towards Eufaula as well that I know of. That's all the warnings we have right now. So again,
This is the only one that we have in the area. It expires at 12 o'clock Central Time for Henry County. But it's getting ready to outrun its warning. We've only got another 6 minutes left on this thing. And again, it's going to cross out of the warning box toward 431. No expectation for this thing to be rewarned. Not seeing any indication of that from National Weather Service in Tallahassee, and they're really good about communicating these things. So if they're not saying it, it's unlikely that they're going to extend the warning on this thing. No reports of damage, no reports, and necessarily at this point, no reports of damage and no reports of a tornado that was associated with that storm. The only one that we've had is where you see that little red dot up there and over Abbeville,
right there.
Or north of Abbeville. So
yeah, and at this point now, it's going to be a gusty wind and hail threat, I would say.
Yeah, let's check the hail. I was about to do that. That's a good point. And maybe a tiny bit. That would, this is not concerning at all. It looks like just a very heavy rain event is what this thing is right now.
Yeah, and with those pinks, if it's not hail, that's extremely heavy rain that's coming down, just downpour type rain. And I would imagine we have a lot of lightning with this storm as well. So if you're traveling along this section of 431 between Newville and Abbeville, take it slow out there. Don't rush to get to your destination. You don't want to get into a hydroplaning type accident on a 4-lane highway like that. So just take it slow if you're going along that stretch of road. Really, I would recommend, I guess, waiting it out until this storm passes. It's not going to take too much longer. Actually, it's out of Newville now. So I would say Newville, you're in the clear from this storm. Would you say so?
Absolutely. Newville's in the clear of any sort of threat from this storm. Danzy, Oak Grove, they're getting heavy rain, but that's really about it. It's just south of Caps there. So this storm isn't nearly as concerning as what it looked like earlier. Yeah. It's out of the tornado warned box at this point, or at least the area that we would expect a potential tornado would be is out of the box. And the warning goes until 12. We're going to stick with it. It's only a little bit more than 4 minutes from now. Yeah. So we'll stay with it until 12 o'clock, but then at that point, we'll make some decisions to go off air, especially if there's no additional tornado warnings. And we'll be watching everything from behind the scenes.